Jayden Daniels started preseason game number 2 for the Commanders and for the first team offense. That was the extent of the highlights.
You are Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome inside today's episode of Locked On Commanders. I am your host, your guy on the ground, David Harrison. And on today's episode, Javontae Jones, defensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders. His pressure package keeps creating ball opportunities for the defense, and that front seven, even as it gets more depleted, continues impacting the quarterbacks. But first, quarterback Jayden Daniels played. We thought he was going to play. I didn't think he should play, but I thought he was going to play, which is why we came to Detroit to take it all in. The Washington Commanders learned a lesson from it. May not be the lesson that they had hoped to learn. However, 17-13, the final score here at Ford Field, as the Washington Commanders dropped their second preseason game of the season, won their first preseason game of the season, so 1-1 out of the preseason. Of course, that's not the important part of the conversation. The important part is Jayden Daniels got on the field, got 3 offensive snaps, 0 for 1, 1 sack, and then handed off the ball once to Kaytron Allen on a third down play. And that really is the stat line that illustrates the storyline. But the storyline is not about Jayden Daniels and his 0 for 1 night. The storyline is about the pressures that caused the 3 and out. Dan Quinn, head coach of the Washington Commanders, told us after the game that the plan all along was for Jayden Daniels and that first team offense to get 1 drive, whether that was 3 plays, 10 plays, 13 plays, didn't matter. Whatever it was, they were getting 1 drive. That was going to be it. Same thing for the starting defense. Now, some players that were on the field with the starting defense, like Sonny Styles, Javontae Jean-Baptiste, Joshua Joseph, for example, stayed on the field with the second team, quote-unquote, defense. But the idea was first team offense, first team defense, getting 1 series each in this game, and that is what they got. The defense, it went really well. We'll talk about them here in just a minute. For the offense, not as well. And the good news is, of course, Jayden Daniels coming out of it healthy. The other good news, I guess if you want to call it that, is the Washington Bears offensive coordinator David Blau, the coaching staff, everybody absolutely knows exactly where they need to focus their efforts here in the last week of the preseason before they get ready for the regular season. And that, of course, is going to be the pass protection in front of Jayden Daniels, because that is the question that's coming out of this. The answer is really a question. How are you going to protect Jayden Daniels in the regular season? Because very first drop back, only 3 snaps, very first play, very first drop back, almost immediate pressure up the middle, center Matt Gulbin getting beaten on a pass rush move. Jayden Daniels kind of just throws it at the feet of Chigga. Was not the intended read, was not the primary read on that play. Jayden just trying to get the ball out of his hands and avoid a disaster. Right now, if there's a silver lining here, and if you've been watching Jayden Daniels for the last 2 years like I have, the last 2 years, Jayden doesn't throw that ball into the dirt. Jayden probably tries to run away or just takes the sack or something like that. So if there's a silver lining you want to draw from it, it's that Jayden Daniels threw the ball away, lived to fight another down, all that kind of stuff. And that next down came on second down, and it was DJ Wanham of the Detroit Lions getting in for a 10-yard sack. And the way that went down, again, Jayden drops back, tries to pass the ball. Near immediate pressure coming from the left side of the offensive formation. Tight end John Bates, one of the best blocking, if not the best blocking tight end in the NFL. Doesn't mean he can't get beat. Gets beat almost immediately on inside pressure. Gets right into the face of Jayden Daniels. Chigga, meanwhile, on the other side, is moving left to right across the formation. Tries to pick up a block on that side. Listen, Chig has told us that he thinks he's a better blocker than he gets credit for, and that's fine. But even if he's a better blocker than he gets credit for, he is not such a good blocker that I think it's wise for this Washington Commanders offense to be kicking Chigga from the left side to the right side, trying to pick guys up. Where I was up in the press box, and JP Finley, who you all know and love, was the first one to really point that design out for me. I'm sure he's going to talk about that on Beltway Football, so make sure you check that out. But I agree. I think it's a design flaw, and I don't think you got the right horses necessarily to run that play. So we'll see. But at the same time, Chig's going to believe he can do it. David Blau believes he can do it. Just sharpen it, make it better, get it better. Whatever the reason is, at the end of the day, the defense comes in again. DJ Wanham ends up wrapping up Jayden Daniels. Big thank you to the Detroit Lions, I think, are due if you are a Washington Commanders fan, because if you watch that play, the Detroit Lions defense, they get to him, and instead of grabbing him and slamming him or grabbing him, falling on him or doing anything like that, they basically just grab and hold him, and they just let the refs blow the whistle and blow it dead. It's like kind of like a Pro Bowl play, which I think typically if it's not your franchise quarterback involved in it, you're kind of going, oh, what are we doing here? It's real football. You're not supposed to be doing that kind of stuff. That's what we call professional courtesy out here, right? And the Detroit Lions showing a lot of that professional courtesy to Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. So again, first 2 plays, 2 passes called, 2 pressures given up, a sack. nightmare scenario. If you're talking about putting your starters out there for even one series, absolute nightmare scenario. And then now the questions are going to come. They've already started coming a little bit. Jayden said he knows that they've got stuff to clean up. Dan Quinn says he's got to digest the tape a little bit. There will be a Zoom Monday afternoon with Dan Quinn. I'm sure he's going to ask more about that pass protection situation, but it's got to get figured out, bottom line, because you cannot go into the regular season unable to protect Jayden Daniels, especially against the Philadelphia Eagles, especially against even the Dallas Cowboys, who are not known for their defense, but they got some guys out there that can rush the passer, especially up the middle, guys like Quinn and Williams. So you can't do that, right? After that start, 3rd and 20, hand the ball off to Katron Allen. The rookie gets 11 yards on the run. So the offense ends up gaining 1 yard of offense in their first 3 plays of the preseason, the only plays of the preseason we anticipate for the first team offense before they punt. And after that, Jayden Daniels' day was over. It's a frustrating series, right? And I think at the end of the day, the frustration comes from Washington accepting the risk of putting their quarterback out there in harm's way. And what did you really get out of it? You got more questions. You got more questions. And honestly, it's a question that I know a lot of us have already been asking is how's the interior of that offensive line going to hold up in the season, especially if Nick Allegretti doesn't come back. But now you've also got the added little bugaboo about the tight ends. Now, granted, it's one set, right? It's one pass player. The tight ends fail them, so you don't want to get too crazy about any of it, but you do end up with more questions of it. So what did Jayden Daniels do in this one start? Never got a chance to really set up properly, step into a throw, never got to complete a pass, never got to cleanly go through his progressions. By the way, John Keim of ESPN sharing a screen clip of some dots that he has fancy access to. Traylon Burks coming wide open on a right to left side crosser in front of Jayden Daniels if he doesn't get sacked on that play. So at least you know the play design behind the pass pro is effective, but now you get the pass pro to give the quarterback time to take advantage of it. Never got to take that clear step, never got to go through his progression, didn't even get a chance to extend a play. Like that's how quickly the rush was on him in those 2 plays, is he never really got a chance to extend those plays. What he did do, he warmed up, he got dressed, he took snaps, he came out pregame knowing I'm going to start this game. Like he went through those motions. You know, look, to some people that's enough. To me, it's not enough. He's done that before. Like we don't need Jayden to get practice doing that. I don't need Jayden getting practice taking sacks. Like at the end of the day, that's not what we're here to do. And the Washington Commanders don't want their quarterback just getting hit. And you're not putting a guy out there to say, well, we want you to know what it's like to get sacked before the regular season comes. He knows. He knows what it's like to get sacked in the National Football League. So where did the team get better? That's going to be the question. I think as you leave Ford Field with that first team offense experience, you can't say the first team offense got better today. But what you can do is you can take those questions, you can take that information, and you can formulate a plan to turn that fact into improvement down the road, which would then make this, you basically come back to this in the timeline and say, positive grew from this. It's going to be a long germinating plant. It's not going to be an immediate sprout, but it is something that David Blau, Dan Quinn, all those guys, they can go back and they can try to find some good out of this initially. So, Julian Good-Jones is going to get the bulk of the conversation, obviously, here. He got the start with Jayden Daniels. Obviously, very first pass play was a negative rep on his part. Matt Gulbin is the obvious, clear competitor, that number 2 job behind Nick Allegretti. But truthfully, there's flaws in Matt Gulbin. I mean, he's a rookie, right? He's a 6th-round rookie. There should be no surprise to anybody that there's flaws in his game as well. So it's not exactly a great answer, even if he's a little bit better than Julian Good-Jones. It's definitely not a great answer. I'll be interested to see what they do in practice, see if Matt Gulbin gets some first-team reps maybe against their own team on Tuesday, see if he gets some first-team reps in the padded practice against the Baltimore Ravens on Wednesday, and then, of course, we'll have to see what happens on Friday night in the preseason finale. Definitely don't expect to see Jayden Daniels out there, but do expect to see Matt Gulbin and Julian Good-Jones out there and see if maybe they can step forward in their interior pass protection for the quarterback, whoever that is, Ethan Kaliak-Mandis, Sam Hartman, whoever that might be. Next up, defense came in. The depth kept hitting the quarterback, kept putting pressure on the quarterback. And right now, you look at this defensive front 7 in Washington, and you just have to have the confidence that no matter who's on the field, the quarterback is going to be affected. That's coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you in part by 5 Hour Energy. There are certain flavors of any product that just instantly feel like summer. For a lot of people, that classic red, white, and blue combination, that rocket pop combination just brings back memories of running through the sprinklers, playing in the heat, and doing all those things. It tops that list, right? You got sweet cherry, lime, and blue raspberry. It's just one of those iconic flavors that everybody remembers. And now 5 Hour Energy is bringing you that memory. Firework Freeze 5 Hour Energy shot. It blends that sweet cherry, that zesty lime flavor, that electric blue raspberry that takes you back. Cherry lime blue raspberry combo really makes it taste like summer, and it's just the latest innovation from 5 Hour Energy. So many energy drinks just kind of get bland. They all kind of taste the same. This is a whole new palate, a whole new flavor rather, to hit your palate and reinvigorate you here as we get to the end of summer. So ignite your taste buds with the flavor of summer. Get a Firework Freeze 5-hour energy shot today. For more information, head over to 5hourenergy.com. Today's episode of Locked On Commanders is also brought to you in part by Kalshi. Before the NFL season even gets started, before training camp ever even got started, we have been making predictions. You've been making predictions. Everybody's making predictions on Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform. You can trade in all of those predictions. So NFL playoff qualifiers market out there, Washington Commanders are currently trading at 30%. That is 30 cents per contract, meaning that a $100 trade on yes, that the Washington Commanders will secure a playoff spot right now, will earn you $333.33 total, a profit of over $200 if they successfully clinch that playoff spot. So download the Kalshi app today. Use the code LOCKEDON to get $10 whenever you trade $10. Kalshi, Kalshi, trade on anything 18 and above only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risks and is not for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, value, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. So for more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. Even with a depleted front seven, the Washington Commanders continue to create chaos. Thank you for making Locked On Commanders your first listen of the day. Thank you to the Everydayers for coming through to yet another episode here today. And thank you as well for visiting WSA9.com, where you can find my written work, so much other stuff, Marshall Kramsky's video work, just all kinds of fun stuff, and WSA9 on social media. The defensive front seven continues to have to rotate people in every single week. It seems like there's just another guy dealing with a little something minor. Unfortunately, Johnny Newton dealing with a little something major, and you have other guys stepping in. And unfortunately, they're also stepping up and they're impressing in their opportunities. I asked Dan Quinn after the game how much confidence that gives him seeing the different combinations and how many different guys they see stepping up in that space, and he confirmed that it does. Amik Robertson, I asked him very similar question. He said as a defender in that secondary, it gives him a lot of confidence that he can be able to go out there, kind of shoot his shot, kind of be aggressive, which we know he likes to do. By the way, getting that turnover, right? Very second play of the game, Detroit Lions offense on the field. Amik Robertson ends up coming in, hitting Josh Dobbs, knocking that ball loose. Joshua Josephs, rookie defensive end, outside linebacker, comes up with the fumble recovery in the end zone for the touchdown. He is one of those names, right? With Odafe Owe out, Calebon Chason out, Dorrance Armstrong out, Johnny Newton out, Daron Payne out. So you're left with the rest of those guys. And we say the rest of those guys kind of sounds disrespectful, but it's not disrespectful. It just kind of is what it is. But Javon Kinlaw, Shy Tuttle is in there. You got Calebon Chason. You got Javontae Jean-Baptiste, Joshua Josephs, right? And no matter what the combination is, they're still getting this pressure. They're getting good run stops. They're getting good run. They're not perfect, right? They're giving up some things here or there. Joshua Josephs, we'll talk about him more here in a little bit, had a little bit of a gaffe that he's going to have to clean up, but that's what the preseason is for. But you just love the amount of chaos that front seven is bringing. And the fact that they can do it with no matter who they kind of have on the field just goes to show you that as much as the players obviously deserve all the credit in the world for what they're doing, it's the process. It's the scheme, the system, the way that Javontae Jones is designing this thing, putting it together. The players have been talking about it all summer. It's creating one-on-one opportunities. It's creating holes where there wouldn't be holes otherwise, and it's giving them the opportunity to get out there, get after the ball, which is then helping that back seven produce the ball with those interceptions. Dan Quinn did say, however, asked him about the 5 takeaways the Washington Commanders defense has produced through the first 2 preseason games. And he said he would love to see more fumbles. He wants to see more punch in the ball. They got the one today, but he wants to see more fumbles. And if you were listening to 106.7 The Fan before the game, I went on with Adam Epstein there. And he asked me about the takeaways, and I said the same thing. I would love to see a fumble here today. They delivered that big time. Quan Martin comes up with his 2nd interception of the preseason, the 4th interception by the Washington Commanders defense so far this preseason. Asked Amik Robertson and Dan Quinn both how they go about making sure that translates to the regular season. I think that what's really stood out to me is that both men talked about how it has to translate to the regular season. Not just like if and when and how do we do it. It's understanding that this is a task that has to be done. And so they're going to attack that as well. So again, the first unit, second unit, just consistently beating that Detroit Lions offensive front, getting to the quarterback, affecting plays. And Joshua Josephs, a guy that we really got to talk about, because I got to call myself out. When Joshua Josephs was drafted, not like I was like poo-pooing the pick, right? But I was like, okay, I see him. He's kind of a role player, right? Has kind of a one-trick guy right now, could develop, down the road, like, maybe in the future, that type of stuff. I mean, his play is basically telling me to shut my mouth. You know what I mean? Like, that's basically what he's doing with his play out here. Gets that fumble recovery, made a lot of other plays. Now, he did have another play completely just overbit on a read option play, completely collapsed the corner, the edge. The quarterback runs outside of him, and once the quarterback got outside of him, there was basically nobody there to stop that play. Certainly not just on Joshua Josephs, right? I think that's an important part of that play to point out. But there is a part of that is his responsibility that he's going to certainly want to clean up as well. The athleticism is absolutely there. What needs to be done is you got to work on the discipline, work on the reads, work on, and he's a rookie. Like, that's the stuff that you're going to expect, right? That's not stuff where if you maybe doubted him a little bit as a draft pick, you don't sit there and pat yourself on the back, because that's he's a rookie, dude. Like, you're not going to take credit for that. You know what I'm saying? And once he gets that part of it, you can see that potential and that athleticism. Once that mental side of it comes in, once that recognition side of it comes in, really going to be helpful in making him effect. On the second drive, Charles Omenihu pressures Joshua Dobbs into that Quan Martin interception. So there's more depth. Javontae Jean-Baptiste gets a 9-yard sack. Maurice Hurst, like, just barely joined the team not that long ago, gets a 3rd down sack that kills a scoring opportunity. Kane Medrano, TJ McGurran-Yanga split another sack. TJ McGurran-Yanga, man, I mean, he is balling out here. International Pathway Program player. He is absolutely balling out, having a great camp, having a great preseason. Caught up with him a little bit in the locker room after the game. Just a little bit of encouragement, just telling him, hey, dude, like, just keep it up, man. We see you. We see what you're doing out there. Continue to do great stuff. So Washington is still getting disruption again. Several different layers of the depth chart, several different combinations of players on the field at the same time. They're doing it against their own offense, which, again, after tonight's demonstration, may not be as impressive. They're doing it against the Miami Dolphins. They're doing it here against the Detroit Lions. Now let's see if they can do it against the Baltimore Ravens on Wednesday, and would love to see them again do it Friday, close out the preseason. That'll give you a lot more confidence on them coming into the regular season, that they might be able to continue that production. Also, that rotational, again, Jean-Baptiste, Omenihu, Quan Martin getting after the ball. I think it's a really fun part of camp so far. It's a really fun part of this preseason, and it's a part that I'm really looking forward to when we get to the regular season is, does this pressure generation translate? Does this ball production translate into the regular season? Because if it does, they got to fix that. They got to fix that protection for Jayden Daniels, man. But if that defense stuff translates, it's going to make for some really good football in 2026 for the Washington Commanders. Next time on Locked On Commanders, we'll come back Monday. We will talk to Dan Quinn on Zoom on Sunday. We'll digest even more of this. Talk about Sonny Styles. I know that I'm going to digest his tape. We're going to look at some more tapes, some of that blocking scheme stuff. We'll have a lot more to talk about as we digest this second preseason game of the year. So I appreciate you coming back for that, coming through for this. And in the meantime, if you need to find me, you can do so on Instagram at dharrison_82. And for your next listen, please check out the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. I know you got fantasy leagues coming up. You want to win them, right? Head over to Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast, where you can get all that information every day, as I do every day. I appreciate you coming back through for another episode today. To everybody out there, thanks for coming through. Thanks for helping to make Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. And until we meet again, if you're out and about, please be safe. If you're on the road with me driving back from Detroit, definitely please be safe. Also, please be kind. I'll see you right here next time for another episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.